Okay, so we got to talk about this again. There is no way we can't talk about it, okay? The two star-crossed lovers, Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And what has come out since then? Quite a bit, okay? Quite a bit has come out. There's been more information coming out about Kevin. There has been, which is the husband, if you guys are, this is your first time watching us. There has been the search warrants that were approved, 3 of them, for Jodi Hildebrandt's house and stuff. And I figured we could go through that, touch on the Kevin stuff a little bit, talk about some of the new information coming out, because, like, man, I got issues with all of this, and I really think that it's only going to go deeper. I really, really do. And one thing we didn't have is some of the details around the wounds and how bad it was for the children. And another reason why I wanted to bring it up is a couple people had made some comments about the situation in live stream the other day. And I just thought it would be a good idea to reaffirm or explain or clarify some of that stuff. Now, question number 1. Gosh, my nose is still bothering me. Question number 1. Have you seen the new person to come out to speak against Jodi?
Who?
Trey Warner, who was a client?
I did see a client, but I don't know if that's him or not. I'm not sure.
He kind of looks like he's from, like, Orange County, trucker hat style, like, bro-looking dude.
Okay.
So he came out. This guy, Trey Warner, I'm sorry, newest client to speak out publicly. He says, quote, word for word, Jodi was good at using shaming tactics to pit couples against each other. Also really good at gaslighting and convincing people that they were too dangerous to be around other people, aka isolation. So,
the angry comments coming into the Connections Classroom social media pages now are just the beginning, according to former client Trey Warner. He joined a support group at the recommendation of a friend trying to improve his marriage. But after a while, he says he grew more suspicious of what Jodi Hildebrandt was teaching.
It started to feel more and more evil. And I finally, in one of the group meetings, I got up and I just said, this is off.
Warner claims Hildebrandt would use shaming tactics to turn husbands and wives against each other, adding that she would convince men that their impure thoughts made them dangerous to their families. He says he saw one case during a group session.
There was a man that had a successful business that believed that he was a danger to his wife and his family because he did a double take. As a woman, like if he saw a beautiful woman, he would see and he'd look again. This guy got his own apartment and separated from his family because he was a danger.
In some cases, Warner claims husbands were separated from their families for so long, they were considering.
They felt so sick and like such a failure that they just felt like they shouldn't be here anymore.
He talks a little bit about this. Adam Steed talks a little bit about this. Have you heard how Jodi set up her courses?
A little bit, but
with phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3?
Oh, no, I haven't heard those details.
So when you first come into her course, okay, there are 3 levels, and they increase in severity as you go along. And Adam Steed was saying that in phase 1, it's just a bunch of super positive, happy people getting together. You're there with your wife or husband, and you're joking about the issues you have, like with the codependency, and kind of making it lighthearted, and showing that, hey, everybody has problems like this. We can get through it. We can get through it together, building bonding. To me, what I hear is that's the manipulation level. She's getting the buy-in right there.
Yep, I knew you were going to say that, the buy-in.
Yep, and, making people feel like, one, they have issues, okay, which everybody does, you guys, everybody.
Yeah, literally everyone.
Yep, every single person out there. And then, 2, making it fun and making them not feel bad about it. stroking ego. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, and then phase 3 or 2, it gets more serious where they start focusing directly on the couple, and then they split them up and start working separately.
Individually.
Individually. So,
which therapists do that. They will have couples therapy and then work one-on-one.
that's not the splitting up we're talking about.
But
When we're talking
no.
about splitting up, we're talking about separating the husband and wife, not splitting up the therapy sessions. Now,
literally driving a wedge between them.
Correct.
Is what you mean.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Suggesting that they move out from each other, suggesting they don't sleep together, suggesting that, you know, one parent takes control of the kids while the other just goes somewhere else.
Well, the
Normally
wife.
it's the man that goes somewhere else. And
The wife
just
controls
really
the kids.
sick tactics. Really, really sick tactics. Now, another interesting fact for you guys. Did you know that Jodi Hildebrandt had men's courses and she ran them?
Yeah.
What? That is not okay.
No.
A woman running a men's course?
No. That.
What kind of relatability would you have?
None.
That alone sounds weird. And
I don't know. She's a butch lesbian, I guess. So.
in my opinion. Right. I guess maybe she fit in with those groups more than the women's. I don't know. But joking, obviously, kind of. But,
kind of.
there's something wrong there. When you go see a therapist and you're going to a men's group, it is not a men's group led by women. It is a men's group led by a man so that you guys can relate to other men.
Yeah.
Understand how you're feeling like you can open up. You have similar issues. You have similar desires. A man's brain thinks a certain way. A woman's brain thinks a certain way. You bond and work through it and figure things out together.
Yeah, that's like being a victim of SA and then going to a group with a bunch of offenders. Literally a group for offenders.
Yeah.
Not survivors.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, we
being
did talk about that.
Yeah, or being a woman, you know, in like a women's assault group, you know, survivors of that, and it being ran by a man. Like, it can make them extremely uncomfortable. It's not a conducive environment for opening up, being vulnerable, and healing.
Yes.
It's just not.
I was blown away by it, though. Absolutely blown away, because I've been involved in men's groups before, and I never, ever have I heard of, seen anything having to do with a woman running a men's group. That just defeats the purpose. It's pointless there. Mm-hmm. So, now, did you hear about the audio of the panic room?
No.
So, there is a panic room under her garage.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently there's stairs down, and there's the garage of the house, which you guys that watching will have seen a picture. And excuse me, there is a panic room there. Now, in one of the search warrants, it talks about some of the details and comments that one of the kids give, okay? And they call it Fort Knox. The reason why they call it Fort Knox is there's a room down there with what looks like a bank door on it. And the officer describes it as a big door that has a wheel on the front, like a safe wheel on the front. And he says that it says Liberty Safe Company. And they also mentioned that if there were more kids there, that's where they would probably be. And they mentioned they want to get into there.
Hey, LT, there's a panic room inside the garage. Downstairs, underneath the garage. Passage is through the safe door, the Liberty Safe. Yeah, he says it's downstairs and it's underneath one of the garages, and he's calling it a safe room. He said something about Fort Knox, so I don't know if it has a Fort Knox door or safe on it, but that's what he's talking about. Temple, we've got it, but we can't get into it. My guess is that would be where they're at. He says it's a large room, it's a panic room. This one says Liberty Safe Company, it's got a big wheel on the front.
Now, here's a question, okay? Why would the wheel to open it be on the outside for a panic room?
It wouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
It wouldn't be.
Right. But it is.
No, you're trying to lock people in it.
More than likely. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like here. That is an issue. That's an issue.
I mean, but with a safe door, how would you open it from the outside if the wheel was on the inside? Safe doors aren't typically made to be opened from the inside.
This is a panic room, not a safe.
Right, so why would you have like a safe door?
I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It's not a panic room then.
No.
It's something else.
It's a vault, like what Rex Heuermann had in his basement.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's the same type of behaviors.
I guess.
You were seeing those sociopathic behaviors that need to hide things away, or in this situation, children. So, they postponed the next court hearing.
Okay.
With these two women because, in parentheses here, because of copious amounts of discovery that they still need to dig through.
Oh, gosh.
The evidence, you guys, is overwhelming. It's stacking. It's piling up. I think there are going to end up being more charges than 6 counts.
Oh, gosh.
There has to be.
Oh, yeah.
There has to be.
There's definitely going to be. I wonder if victims of Jodi are going to come out and start pressing charges.
I mean, they slowly are. We're starting to see people coming out and talking, which is step one to coming out and you know, bringing against charges or speaking out against their situation, which could bring more criminal charges.
This looks so bad.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I'm happy to see these things.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're postponing it because of copious amounts of evidence. Now, do I want to know more right now? Absolutely, I do. But I understand that more information is coming out, and I'll gladly wait if it means that these women get put away.
Yeah. Especially Jodi, more than anything. Like,
no, both of them.
Yes, both of them. But Jodi has a proven track record of doing so much to so many people.
I get it.
Ruby is an abusive mother, yes, and I don't think she should have custody of her kids.
No.
And I think she should be locked away in prison. But Jodi, I think, should never get out.
Yeah, I don't think Ruby should.
Really?
No. What do you mean? Absolutely not. No.
Never?
Never. Never. Okay. No.
I don't know. I don't think she should necessarily, but I just think that
she has a decade worth of child abuse, 2 decades worth of child abuse.
You're right, but I'm speaking simply here on the law and charges and how much can be brought against Jodi. A lot can be brought against Ruby, but we only have her with her kids. Jodi has many families spanning years.
Yeah, I get it. I think they are equally bad.
I think they are equally bad too.
So
I'm just saying.
I don't think Jodi is worse. I think they are equally bad, and I think they're just different abusers with different tactics and different reasons and different approaches and everything. So, in the search warrant, it gives some details around what took place. So when the 12-year-old ran over to the neighbor's house and the cops got there, in exact words, they talk about the wounds on his legs are pretty good, the cop says. He will need medical care. He is malnourished.
Hey, 314, the wounds on his leg are pretty good. 10-4. Control 12X11, 314 as well. The child looks very emaciated.
and it talks about that in the search for these items. It talks about how deep they are, like you brought up the other time we talked about this. Once they got to the hospital, all the experts confirmed that yes, these children were malnourished, confirmed in this situation. Now, using the search warrants,
so how deep were the cuts?
I mean, how do you judge how deep a cut is?
You said they talked about how deep they were.
Yeah, they said the wounds on his legs are pretty good, making a statement that they look deep.
So, am I mistaken, or did I hear that the duct tape was holding the wounds together?
No.
No? Because I thought I heard that somewhere, but I can't remember where I heard that. Maybe not, though.
No.
Maybe I'm mistaken.
No. So, what we can gather from the search warrant, you guys, is that Jodi herself was, or at least the most recent time, okay? We don't know if Ruby ever did it, but Jodi would tie them to the ground. Okay. To the ground. Okay, and we don't know yet how they were tied to the ground, and what I mean by that is to what posts. Okay, we know it was to the ground. We know it was with thick rope. We know that she used, devices like carabiners, and I read somewhere that she was covering the wounds with duct tape to prevent more damage from happening. I don't know what's true. I don't know if the wounds if the duct tape was used to also tie them up. We haven't got confirmation of that yet. I just wanted to lay out what they could be. Could it be that they had already had wounds on their arms and legs because of being tied up for so long that they covered their wrists and ankles and then tied around it?
That's what it sounds like.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's another interesting piece. So we got confirmation that they were using cayenne pepper and honey on open wounds. What is going on here? I looked that up, okay, because a lot of people had brought up the fact that, hey, that is a home remedy. That is a home remedy.
Honey is. I didn't think cayenne pepper.
Cayenne pepper is. But out of all the research that I did, it says everywhere that you do not use cayenne pepper on an open wound. Cayenne pepper has anti-inflammatory traits, okay? So if you have an inflamed leg or wound, you can use cayenne pepper around the inflammation on the wound. It shouldn't be used in the wound. We got confirmation that it is being used in the wound. So is this intentionally being used instead of Neosporin or peroxide or anything else other than something that is going to hurt so bad with the intention of harming further? It makes me wonder.
I mean, her whole goal was to make you so uncomfortable that you will,
release the demon.
Confess your sin, and get free of distortion. She believed that distortion could not exist, and sin and all these negative things could not exist if you were truly honest. And if you're truly honest, then your life is perfect. There's nothing wrong with you anymore, and you are perfect. That's what Jessie, her niece, was saying, was that she was declining physically and mentally, so Jodi was becoming more harsh and making her more uncomfortable, and it was just escalating, because she believed that the more she declined, the more dishonest she was being. And
my gosh.
So it was getting worse and worse and worse, and it was this, cycle effect. Because she's declining, that means she's being even more dishonest. So I need to be harsher and make her more uncomfortable and make her sleep in the snow. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But that's what it kind of sounds like. Maybe that was okay, there's wounds from being tied up. These kids are declining. It's because they're being more dishonest. So, I'll treat your wound with something I know will help, but it's also going to hurt really bad.
I have no idea. All I know is it's psychotic.
It is absolutely
it is
psychotic.
Psychotic and makes no sense.
These poor kids.
And these women both need to be put away for a long time. Because here's the thing.
This is torture.
Wounds from a rope do not just... It's not like putting a knife to the skin, okay? It takes... I mean, sure, if you're tied up and you're pulling super hard, I mean, wounds could happen pretty quick.
In a day, yeah.
I assume that's not what was going on here, especially since there was an attempt to repair, heal, or fix the wounds and continue tying to the floor.
And clearly they were malnutrition, so... Clearly, this is like long-term abuse and torture.
Yeah.
That is my main issue, is straight up, this is torture.
Yeah.
This is not just neglectful parenting, abusive parenting. They were torturing the kids. Like medieval torturing.
Yep. Well, I mean, think of it, you guys. They were tied up, like, you know, arms and legs on the ground. And not being fed properly, not getting water properly. You know, one thing that they said in the search warrant is they were looking for a red liquid that they got a statement from the 12-year-old boy that Jodi was making them drink. What could that be?
Drugging them?
A red liquid. What would drugging them do unless they're abusing them while they're drugged?
Red liquid sounds like Kool-Aid with drugs in it, or an actual over-the-counter medication for kids, maybe, or adults even.
I don't know, but spooning red liquid in their mouth, is it some kind of nutrient drink? Like you can't have food,
like
here's
electrolyte?
Vitamins or something? I don't know. It doesn't give any other details on it, but it's interesting. That is super interesting. Now, they were able to get an approval on the search warrant to look for anything that could withhold the children, okay? And what they were able to find is tape and rope in Jodi's house, multiple large gauze that had cayenne pepper and honey on them used, additional tape and saran wrap. So I don't know what saran wrap's being used for. Is it being used for wound covering? Is it being used to restrain legs?
Right.
What is it being used for? They were searching for a journal. So Jodi's journal, probably to get some kind of insight into her psyche and see what's going on. Plus, maybe there's past admissions of crimes and guilt and things like that. That's a good one to look for. The bowl containing red liquid with a metal spoon that she made them drink. Two specific super absorbent dressings that were in a bathroom. Brown and white rope. I'm assuming the brown and white rope is going to be like your rock climbing rope, you know, that nylon, finely braided rope. Mm-hmm. 2 handcuffs and 3 carabiners. 2 handcuffs. I sure hope that they're for Jodi and Ruby.
I mean, clearly not.
There's just no statements of them being used on a kid, and I'm not even joking. I hope they were using them together. Handcuffs are super uncomfortable. Really an awful thing to do to anybody, and especially children. And then a 12-year-old child that goes to their neighbor and says, oh no, it's my fault. Oh, and so you know what? You know how someone asked the question on live stream that they thought that it was only the 12-year-old boy? In the police report, it says that they found the sister in the same kind of circumstances.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I was just it's important to clarify because clearly due to our live stream, people think that it was just the 12-year-old boy.
I did clarify in the live stream, so...
Yeah, but
yes, it was... He said that... I wonder if they were kept in separate parts of the house, because he seemed to think she was fine. At least what he said during the 911 call. But no, she was found in the same condition as him. Tied up, malnutritioned, like she was getting the same treatment. Yeah. And so I think all that stuff is really eye-opening, you guys, because any of this right here, it are specific things that they're looking for that they got approved for in the search warrant from a first-hand account and statement from the 12-year-old boy. So this, if anything, paints a picture of what was going on. If I had to detail this, and this is so awful, but if I had to detail this, I'm assuming the boy is tied to the ground for who knows how many days, literally on the ground of the house, okay, in a super uncomfortable position, keeping food from him, and that is the red drink and spoon. Clearly, I think that she's probably feeding it to him. And actually, I think that's what it says, if I'm remembering correct. They're trying to treat the wounds while continue keeping him tied up. And he got free of that. God, that's so awful. It is.
That's so awful. I can't imagine being in that. And then that 12-year-old boy goes to the neighbor and says it's his fault.
I know. It's so sad.
So I want to name this content creator. Have you ever heard of Markey or Callum Markey?
I think so.
A British content creator that has been on the Ruby Frankie stuff for a long time. So he has been doing videos around Ruby Frankie and super smart, super witty, super on top of it, and great content. So if you guys want to see a rundown of content of 8 Passengers, I might be clipping some things in here in this video too. I would suggest checking him out.
Yeah, no, he's great. I like him. I've watched him before.
Now, what else has happened since we talked the last time? The attorney interviews. Have you watched those?
I mean, Kevin's attorney, yeah.
Yep. So I have some questions with them. So I watched it in detail since then. And one thing he says is, do you remember the reporter asking him, so Kevin hasn't had any contact with his kids at all this whole time? And the attorney responds, well, almost none at all. Well, yeah, none at all.
Red flag.
Red flag. Absolutely red flag.
Almost none. Well, none at all.
That makes me feel like he's talking about a specific circumstance. Yep. So how much did he know? Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they separated because they had a difference of opinion in parenting.
I did know that.
Yes.
I did pay attention to that statement because I thought, a difference of opinion in parenting. And this is when Jodi's there and she's giving all her lovely advice on their relationship and parenting.
I don't even think it has to do with Jodi. Leave Jodi out of the equation. This is more focused on Kevin's guilt. So, Kevin's claiming he didn't know anything was going on, okay? But the reason why they split up was there was a difference in opinion in parenting, okay? So Kevin takes off, Ruby takes off, they go their separate ways. So, and people are trying to say, and the attorney's trying to say Kevin's not guilty. But if you have such a big difference of opinion in parenting style that you guys split up, you're not going to go out of your way to check on your kids?
Well, Ruby made him block the kids' numbers.
I get it. But that alone makes me feel like that's guilt.
Well, see...
Not in doing the crime, but at least guilty in having some kind of knowledge that there was something wrong.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, is I feel like for them to go their separate ways because of differences in parenting makes me think he was disagreeing with something that was going on, and that means he knew something wrong was happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then, but I don't know why you would do what he did in that situation then.
But that makes me go back and doubt what the attorney said, that Kevin had no contact.
Yeah, so he's just going to leave for 13 months, block his kids' numbers, and, like, just go live his life, hoping Ruby's going to call him one day and say, okay, you can come home now, we can work it out.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Did you feel like in that interview that the attorney was being super careful not to put Ruby down? Because I did.
Yeah.
I feel like Kevin's, like...
He did say that
standpoint is that he wants to be back with her.
I think he does too. But...
Dude, that makes me feel like he's guilty, too.
Why hasn't he come out and publicly defamed her and said... I'm getting a divorce.
I don't think he needs to do all that.
Okay, then why didn't he at least say, I want a divorce? Why hasn't he filed for divorce?
Yeah. And here's my other question, too, because I agree with you. If I were him, I would absolutely be filing for divorce, okay? I think that whatever kind of weird codependent bond he has with Ruby is going to do him in. He's going to end up getting in trouble for it. They aren't going to let this go, dude. You're too far. Come on, man. And the fact that we can see proven abuse from the past history before Jodi.
Yes.
Provable abuse. Whether he did it or not, he was complicit because he was there, okay? And I think that difference in parenting proves enough. I think that proves enough. The fact that Ruby calls him the second she finds out something's up and tells him to get out here.
Makes you think he knew.
Makes you think he knew. Makes you think he knew. Right. Absolutely. You know that they put a college fund together for the oldest daughter, and as soon as she turned 18, they took all the money out of it?
What?
Yeah.
Who did? Kevin and Ruby?
Yep.
Why?
They haven't given any money to these kids. And it's all the kids' money. All of it. None of it is Ruby's.
Well, I wouldn't say none of it. She ran the channel.
Absolutely, I say none of it.
Only because of the abuse.
That's not why. I think the kids are the reason why they were able to have a kids' channel.
Well, yeah, clearly.
So, should she get paid an annual salary because she was making the videos around the kids' lives? Yeah, but let's be real here. The star of the show was the kids. In my opinion. So here's another thing. So another good example that if I was an attorney, right, if I was the state, I would use this and twist it against Kevin and Ruby. So we have Ruby who came in and said that their younger kid had been abusing other children for a while, okay? Kevin was part of that time. So why didn't it get brought up? From Kevin.
Right.
Why didn't it get brought up? He was a part of taking Christmas away, making one kid sit there while all the other kids got to open Christmas presents. He was a part of taking food away. He was a part of taking the bed away, taking a bedroom away, taking privacy away from a puberty-aged boy. And then the SA claims. Like, dude, he is guilty.
Yeah.
He is guilty.
I know.
And the reason why I wanted to talk specifically on like the search warrant with Jodi and the Ruby stuff and the Kevin stuff at the end is because I see a lot of people looking at this situation and demonizing Jodi while minimizing what Ruby and or Kevin did. And I think all of them are a major issue. There is a huge issue, and nothing is to blame. YouTube is not to blame. Kids' channels are not to blame. Nothing is to blame except these three adults are to blame. They are the reasons. Nothing else makes a sociopath. Nothing else makes three adults be willing to abuse children. Nothing.
Yeah, so early on in this, I felt like there wasn't enough light shown on Jodi and her track record. They were focusing all on Ruby completely and talking about how much of a monster she was. So I felt like it was important to shine light on Jodi. And the niece hadn't even come out yet. Well, actually, I think she had. I just hadn't watched it yet. It literally just came out. Yeah. Her interview, and she hadn't even gone to mainstream media yet. It was just Mormon Stories podcast. So I felt like Jodi needed to have a light shown on her because I do feel like she manipulated the situation and broke up their marriage intentionally so she could gain control of Ruby and the family and do what she does. But I think Ruby is entirely complicit in an equal part in all of it. And I think Kevin was an equal part in the marriage with Ruby before Jodi and also during the beginning of Jodi before he got kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
I do think he was a part of it. I do think he knew about it, and I do not buy that he is this clueless man walking around his own home, not seeing his kids being starved and sleeping on the living room floor.
Yep.
Like, you have to be the most absent...
Taking Christmas away from one kid? Bro.
That is insanity. That is insanity. Like, okay, we, as parents... You are supposed to be a guider. You're supposed to be guidance, not this authoritarian controller. Like this it's like a fascist dictator is how they ran their home.
Yeah.
With capital punishment. Corporal punishment.
I agree.
Capital punishment being taking away Christmas or somebody's bedroom.
Yep.
Corporal punishment being push-ups and starving people.
Yeah. And interesting, so Jennifer, who is Kevin's brother's wife, came out and said, I don't think there is any excuse for what she did to those two children. I don't believe her kids were the abusers, she claims. I don't believe a word out of her mouth. I don't think her children ever molested anyone. Speaking out against essentially what Kevin's saying. Kevin's coming out and saying, Ruby was manipulated by Jodi. It's all Jodi's fault. I think there's a major issue there.
The lawyer said that he was manipulated by Ruby. That Ruby emotionally manipulated him. Yes, he said that word for word, that he was being manipulated by Ruby.
But the one I watched did not say that. The lawyer said, no. He was being manipulated by Ruby, and they were both being manipulated by Jodi. So the interviewer clarified, so you think it's all Jodi, and he says... Yes, I think it was all Jodi. Everything. Okay. She is the monster. And they're putting everything on her.
So maybe Kevin's goal is to get Ruby out and get their family back together.
Yes. Here's a suggestion, too, because I want to wrap it up here real quick. So there's a website that somebody made, JodiHildebrandt.com, and it is... all the stuff that she's done, dude. Someone took time, put this together.
Probably Adam Steed.
Put her picture together. Jodi, Nan Hildebrandt, and Ruby Frankie arrested. It gives the whole breakdown on everything.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is incredible. There's the audio on here. There's literally everything on here. So it is super awesome. License on probation. Jodi just recently agreed to end her license, so Interesting stuff. But the most important thing is we want to know what you think about it, you guys. Share it in the comments below. Let us know how you feel about this situation. And we're going to keep talking about it because this is going to keep going. And we need to see Ruby convicted. We need to see Jodi convicted. And
unfortunately,
I'm curious,
probably the father, too.
I'm curious what we're going to see come of Kevin. So would love to know how you feel about it, though.
Yeah.
Let us know.